So welcome to the UNCDF webinar on Unlocking Pension Fund Savings for COVID-19 Relief. My name is Rose Payne. I'm a Knowledge Manager for the Pacific Financial Inclusion Project. Before I hand over to Isaac Holly, the Country Technical Specialist for Solomon Islands, who will tell you more about what to expect from today's session, I want to explain the structure of this webinar and introduce the speakers. The speakers will present for around 25 minutes, after which point we will have a Q&A. You can ask questions at any point in the chat box and we'll come back to them during the Q&A. This webinar will be recorded, so you can always come back to it or share it with your colleagues. We encourage you to also share thoughts on social media using the hashtag #SINPFCOVIDResponse. We will send some resources following the webinar along with that recording. And now, let me introduce today's speakers. First, we have Mr. Michael Wattay, the Chairman of Solomon Islands National Provident Fund. Michael Wattay is the current Chief Executive Officer of the Solomon Islands National Provident Fund. An economist by training, Michael has had over 30 years' experience in Solomon Islands financial sector dealing with new business development financing, the development of loans and saving products, investing member funds for the creation of wealth for members' retirement, and making retirement benefits accessible to the informal sector. Mike sits on a number of SINPF board, investee company boards, and on government state-owned enterprises, with considerable experience in corporate governance. Thanks for joining us. Next, let me introduce Sanjay B. Shah. He's an entrepreneur, mentor, and consultant, and currently a senior digital financial services advisor at PHB Development. Sanjay is a passionate advocate for digitization and its role in helping low-income economies leapfrog into the digital age and to raise the levels and pathways to higher economic growth. Sanjay has extensive policy, board, and C-level experience in banking and finance, insurance, and the development sectors in Nepal and internationally. Thanks to Sanjay for speaking to us today. Finally, please let me introduce Isaac Holly, the Country Technical Specialist overseeing the Pacific Financial Inclusion Program's activities in Solomon Islands. Prior to his role in the Pacific, Isaac worked as a digital financial services expert for the UNCDF MM4P program based in Uganda. Isaac also worked as a senior manager at Microsave, an international consultancy firm with a wealth of financial inclusion expertise. Thanks to Isaac for joining us, and I will hand over to him now to introduce today's topic.
Thank you, Rose. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from whatever part of the globe that you are listening from. My name is Isaac Holly, and I'm the Country Technical Specialist of the UNCDF's Pacific Financial Inclusion Program. I'm based in the Solomon Islands. Allow me first to introduce to you the Pacific Financial Inclusion Program, or PFIP. The PFIP is a program of the United Nations Capital Development Fund, UNCDF, and is also jointly administered with the United Nations Development Program, UNDP. We receive our fundings from the Australian government, the European Union, and the New Zealand government. We operate in countries of Fiji, Papua New Guinea, Samoa, Solomon Island, Timor-Leste, and Vanuatu. Our objective is to increase the number of low-income Pacific Islanders who adopt formal financial services, and the UNCDF achieves this objective by supporting financial service providers to innovate with products and services for the mass market customers, supporting governments to create an enabling policy environment for financial innovation, and empowering customers. Since our inception in 2008, we have helped over 2 million low-income Pacific Islanders to access formal financial services and financial education. At the UNCDF PFIP, we have funded over 45 projects with financial service providers who have innovated with technology and products, enrolling customers into services such as agency banking, mobile money wallets, micro-pension, micro-insurance, micro-loans, remittances, and savings groups, among others. And now to the subject of this webinar. As you're all aware, every country is feeling the economic effects of COVID-19. COVID-19. And it's still not clear how much more our economies will be impacted by this global pandemic. But certainly, the ramifications continue to be felt. And economies all over the world are experiencing widespread job losses as industries are shutting down. And as this happens, countries are searching for ways to mitigate these effects using resources close at hand. It's clear that without safety nets, many risk losing their livelihoods. And we have seen this already happen. Fortunately for Solomon Island and a few other island countries like Vanuatu, COVID-19 has so far not yet reached our country's shores. However, let us not forget that we are in a global village and cannot be spared from the effect of the economic shutdown. And indeed, we are already feeling this economic pressure. In response, the government of Solomon Island and the National Provident Fund realized that many of their citizens and Provident Fund members had been laid off work and continue to be laid off work as COVID-19 continues. Many more people are going to find themselves in economic difficulties. It was agreed that the National Provident Fund allows its members access to a portion of their superannuation fund to cushion the financial shock resulting from COVID-19 effect to the economy. And Mr. Michael Wattay, the CEO of the National Provident Fund, will speak to us shortly about this. To do this, the National Provident Fund required a robust and agile financial infrastructure that could quickly disburse funds to each member while managing social distancing. The National Provident Fund turned to its strong existing partnership with the UNCDF PFIP for possible solutions and support. On a side note, the UNCDF has been working with the National Provident Fund since 2015, and together we have developed a micro pension program for the informal sector known as USEF Pension Scheme. In only about 2 years, USEF has now reached 20,000 members, representing close to 15% of the entire workforce of Solomon Island. In 2019, the need for a more convenient digital method to allow people to make small intermittent saving deposits anytime and from anywhere led to the UNCDF to work with PHP development. Together with the National Provident Fund, we developed an innovative airtime top-up option as a currency for pension savings. Mr. Sanjay from PHB, our partners, led this initiative and will tell us more about this experience of working to digitize pension payments using airtime top-ups and how it was adopted in this COVID-19 crisis. This webinar is an opportunity to share our learnings from this process. While not all in this webinar come from a pension background, we hope that the key lessons of this webinar, how to digitize, how to use existing infrastructure to move quickly to respond to the needs of customers during the COVID crisis, will be useful to you all currently and during future response needs. Now, I'm pleased to introduce to you Mr. Michael Wattay, the CEO of the Solomon Island National Provident Fund, who will tell you more about our dedication to the members and the driving force that allowed the National Provident Fund to offer quick access to their needs during this time. Mr. Mike, the floor is yours. Welcome.
Thank you, Isaac. Thank you for allowing me to share some experiences with you all. Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning. I'm Michael Wattay, the CEO of the Solomon Islands National Provident Fund. On 25th March 2020, the government announced emergency measures to address the COVID-19 responses. Among these measures, the government named certain areas of the country as emergency zone, and due to which non-essential persons were to be temporarily laid off, and requested these persons leave the emergency zone of Honiara and return to their provinces. To ensure that these people were able to survive financially, government through the Minister of Finance, Honorable Hari Kumar, with consultations with the board of the SINPF, used his powers to exempt classes of members where the SNPF for such laid off temporary or permanent persons will be able to withdraw certain amounts from their retirement accounts. Eligible employees or members with reduced salaries through working low hours or having to go on unpaid leave will access $5,000 from their contributions. If the balance in the accounts is below 5,000, they will receive half of that balance. If made redundant from 1st February 2020, the required waiting period for them to access the savings will be waived. Members who are already unemployed and are living in the emergency zone of Honiara can also access up to $5,000 in the balances or half if below 5,000. This created a challenge to the organization of scale and magnitude which we had never experienced before and was unprecedented. Our internal rough estimates are that between mid-April and June 2020, we will need to service at least 20,000 NPF members, and withdrawal amount would be between SPD 150 to SPD 200 million. While fund management is a challenge, the main problem that we had was logistical. We needed to establish a mechanism on how to pay out thousands of applicants within a short period of time. The problem is further compounded by the fact that only about 34% Solomon Islanders are banked. In addition, we needed to ensure that the recipients were able to maintain social distancing measures when collecting the payments. We approached the leading banks to help us in making large number of payouts from the branches, but they offered limited numbers, which could take a long time to disperse and was not acceptable to my team. We were able to call on UNCDF and Sanjay, who has been working with us to roll out and scale up our use of mobile airtime to enable informal workers to save digitally into their USAVE accounts. We worked with Sanjay to establish which digital channels could be used so as to streamline these payments rapidly while enabling social distancing. We were able to quickly and effectively map out a solution using existing resources that we had developed for USAVE services. This allowed us to service our members in an efficient and responsible manner. As a result of this, I can present the following numbers. As of 30th April 2020, we had accepted and registered 9,873 applications from our members, and the total withdrawal amount for this was approximately SPD 49 million. As of this date, 30th April, we have been able to pay out to 8,055 members over $39 million. As you can see, we are now at 82% efficiency, and we now have a SOP in place to address these issues for us in the future. It has been a great learning experience for my entire team, and most importantly, element is that there has been a very effective knowledge transfer to us on how to handle such issues in the future. I would like to thank my great team from the back office to the front line who have undertaken this exercise and have carried it out successfully. My team will carry the lessons learned during this process forward so that we can carry on protecting the people of Solomon Islands in times of need. So now I can hand over to Sanjay to continue.
Thank you, Mike. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. As Rose introduced me, I'm Sanjay, and because of the current situation, I'm pleasantly surprised to be stuck here in Solomon Islands, and it is I'm very happy to share the experiences and learnings that has happened in Solomon Islands. Within my discussions today, I will also share some key takeaways for you all to maybe related to you and your organizations anywhere in the world where you may find yourself in similar situations now or in the near future. I have been working with the NPF team here with regards to the development of a digital solution for the informal sector here, where we could thus leverage this digital platform that we had here to adopt it for this situation that we face with regards to the COVID-19 payments, and has been pointed out by Isaac earlier. It was quite the day when we went out together with Mike to seek assistance from banks to make the NPF COVID-19 payments, and we needed to make it in large numbers. But the banks clearly pointed out their need to service their customers first and to maintain social distancing norms. And thus it would be very difficult for them to address such large payments and numbers. This was very disappointing for Mike and his team. Due to this, Mike requested for assistance to come up with a solution on how payments could be done for its customers. And we tapped back into the resources that NPF already had and to see if that could be utilized for these payouts efficiently. We had developed the SMS alerts platform and mechanism under which the USave low mobile deposits were being done, which was mentioned by Isaac earlier. Let me give you a very brief introduction to the USave low mobile service. This is part of a unique USave voluntary deposit cum superannuation product that NPF launched with UNCDF assistance and technical guidance. And this product is for the informal sector in Solomon Islands and is very popular. Under this, members deposit funds into their USave account. And what happens is that 50% of that deposit is split into a preserved account and 50% is into a general account. The preserved account is only accessible to members when they are 55 years old, and the general account is accessible 4 times a year in which members can withdraw their funds. The USave product, as I mentioned, is very popular, but there was a challenge on how to make this deposit activity easily accessible to members, as NPF only has 3 branches in the entire country, and there was no mobile money service here in this country. With assistance and partnerships we developed with both the mobile operators here in Solomon Islands, that is Telecom and B-Mobile, we managed to develop a solution, and more importantly, the Central Bank of Solomon Islands and the Internal Revenue Department was also a key partner, which enabled the use of airtime or top-up credits of customers that they buy to use for their mobile services as a currency. To use this directly to transfer the airtime credits into their USave accounts and make deposits. This system is primarily USSD based, and transactions happen in real time, with transaction alert SMS being generated for each transaction being confirmed. So we have leveraged this platform for the COVID-19 payout solutions, and I'll explain about that. But let me walk you through some of the challenges for the COVID-19 payouts from the superannuation accounts of the members. And there were many. There were unprecedented numbers of people who were applying for funds. They were traveling across the country to new locations. They needed to maintain social distancing. At a time of crisis, the ability to receive funds quickly was paramount to their health and safety. The COVID-19 crisis was further compounded by the recent tropical cyclone Harold. The process offered by banks was too slow, and access to funds was an issue. In the end, it was logistics rather than technology, which therefore proved to be the challenging aspect of this project. As I mentioned, we leveraged the infrastructure that already existed here, and we used that to generate the mechanisms under which the COVID-19 payouts could be done. I worked very closely with the entire NPF team, the IT, finance and operation teams and in their concerned departments, whereby we developed a mechanism through an SMS batch process where the people who needed to be paid out were queued and groups were created under which there were date and time for when they would get their payout. The SMS included the member's ID number, and a unique withdrawal code was also created for each member in the SMS. This basic SMS solution was prototyped within 48 hours of seeking assistance and inputs for a viable solution to address these challenges. And now the overall process of making these payouts is very effective. On some days, we even make payments in less than 30 seconds, whereby we pay out 700 members in a single day. This is better than if we had used all the bank branches of the banks in Honiara. So it is working very well. Let me walk you through some of the key steps. So of course, the first step is the application process, which is people come to a location and there's an application form that they fill up with the required paperwork. And this is the process that takes the longest, because the member application has to be verified, it has to be checked with their account status, and their actual unemployment status has to be checked before the application is approved and then queued into the system. That's when the next step happens, where the batching and the queuing process of all the approved application happen. What happens is that all the applications are processed under the FIFO principle, that is the first in, first out. So that is being maintained, and the list of the approved members are queued up in the database for the SMS batch processing and sequencing for the date, time, and modality of payment. For the customers that are banked, a CSV format, file format is generated and sent to the respective banks. So that transfer is performed immediately, and it's a very smooth process. The third step is the SMS blast or the broadcast to the members. These SMSs are blasted out 1 day prior to their payout date. The members then come to the payout location at the time specified to them in the SMS. They need to bring their ID cards together with their mobile, with the SMS they received, to enable the payout to be done efficiently. For customers with bank accounts, they get an SMS alerting them that their bank account has been credited and they need to verify with the bank. So roughly we are having a 35% of the members who are banked and 65% of the members are not banked. Then we move on to, of course, the actual payout mechanisms. So that's the step 4, which I would say is the management of the payout location and the verification process of the members when they come to collect their payments. At the payout locations, we are maintaining strict social distancing norms, and there are different sections and rows that verify the members, and we are able to enhance the number of verification points based on the presence of how many customers turn up for that payment of that day. On a given day, we have never had more than 80% of the people that are required to come for their payment come for their payment. So that's the scenario we are facing right now. The verification processes personnel have also been oriented towards looking after persons with special needs, such as pregnant women, women with small children, infants, elderly persons, or differently able persons. And these people or persons are processed on a high priority basis. The verifications are also divided into female, male, and past due payments, so that the efficiency of processing the applicants is very quick. Members present their IDs along with the SMS they received, and they are processed immediately. When members come with the SMS and no ID or vice versa, then a quick online or physical customer file checks are done. The fifth step is, of course, the cash or check handover. Once a member is verified, they are given a slip with a withdrawal code that they take to the cash area to collect the cash and leave. The slip with the withdrawal codes is entered into a cashier system that is connected on a real-time basis to the central database of NPF. If a member, and actually this connection to the real-time database is very important so that we don't have any incidents of fraud or the probability of a member being paid twice. So this is a very important requirement. If a member is to receive a check, a bearer check, that they go to a bank and collect their payment, then they pick it up from the verification desk itself and they do not have to go to the cash area. These processes in the cash area take seconds and people are in and out of that area very quickly. The final step, of course, on our daily process is the daily debriefing with the cash management or the payout location team and the leadership team. Making a team decision and having debriefing sessions every payout is important. The team works together to find out what worked and what did not, and how to address any problems and challenges that have emerged. One can start with daily briefings in the initial weeks and then move towards alternative days based on how the processes are working. Currently, we are now down to 2 briefing sessions a week, Mondays and Fridays, which is an excellent example and proof of knowledge transfer and the NPF team taking over and handling all the processes. Mike now takes the leadership role in these meetings, and it has now been a few weeks of payments that have been made, and more or less all aspects are running smoothly. Some key elements that I would like to also point out that are very important. First of them is, of course, managing the communication with the members and the larger audience. Members are, of course, provided with SMS and details of how their payouts will happen. But this SMS is repeated every time, every day, whenever a customer or member has not recollected their payment, and a new code is created for them so that they can come and they can be processed efficiently. The other important thing that we have leveraged very well is the toll-free number that members can call, or anybody who has a question or a doubt for clarification. Doing media interviews over TV, FM, radio, during and post payouts is also a very effective communication channel in informing the larger public on what are the recent developments, what is the process, what is the protocol. Using social media also is very, very helpful, where updated information and on one-to-one interaction with customers can take place. And of course, interacting with the press and bringing them over to the payout locations and explaining the process and giving them an on-site process overview helps in propagating the message to the general public. So managing communication is an important part. Then a key element is the partnerships that make such a large payout work. And you may think that you don't require partnerships, but there are so many logistics elements. So these are very vital for smooth operations and successful emergency cash transfers. We leverage the partnership with our mobile operators, Telecom and V-Mobile, to ensure that it could handle the SMS blasts and the SMS gateways were up and functioning. Mobile operators have also been very helpful in ensuring online connectivity for real-time verification and upload of payments to prevent fraud and resolve problems. Updating and informing the central bank regarding key issues have been very helpful, so that because the banks collect their cash from the central bank, and when NPF requires cash, because of this coordination with the central bank has been facilitating this cash even at odd hours when there's a cash requirement. The other key thing that the central bank has provided is a simple KYC process for payments for those members who go and collect their bearer checks and encash them at the banks. Working together with the local civic authorities is also very important, and I would like to highlight the element of security, because we are handling a large volume of cash, and close coordination with the police with regards to the movement of cash. Securing the cash disbursement area is also very important. So those, then even though that the banks did not extend their full-fledged payment facility to NPF, partnership with them is still very important, because they are the ones who manage to provide the cash to NPF. And within that, they have also been kind enough to make the bundles of 5,000 Solomon Island dollars ready. And when they hand over like what the disbursement for the next day, all the cash is already arranged and ready for disbursement. So that's a very good partnership that we are having with the banks. Mike is coordinating these activities with the banks, and the banks have also been cooperative with requests with Mike with regards to opening up some of their branches for members to encash their checks even on a Saturday. So partnerships evolve in different ways and may not necessarily be in one way that you imagined or expected initially. So it's very important to maintain all these different kind of partnerships. The other aspect that I shared with the team and my learnings, and that we incorporated in the cash transfers, was from my experiences during the Nepal 2015 earthquake, where we had to do a large volume of cash transfers. And one key learning in the verification process of who should get the payments and if it's the right person was to ensure that the problematic verification customers do not block the main people who can be easily verified. So we have created a special section in which the problematic identification or verification people are referred to, so that 95% of the people can be processed very efficiently. Another example of this kind of a team and knowledge sharing was in selection of the payment modality of each category of payment. And I would like to briefly highlight, and Mike had mentioned that to you earlier, and that is, there are 3 categories of payment. There is one in which members are eligible to withdraw 5,000 flat if they have balances over 5,000 in their NPF account. The next category is they are eligible to have 50% of their NPF balance if they have less than 5,000 in their account. And then the third category is for people who are over 50 years old, they can withdraw 20% of their balance from this account. So the question came, how do we handle these different type of payment modalities? And we decided that we would do only 5,000 flat in cash at our payout locations, and remaining elements would be done over a bearer check. And this was a team decision, and how that came about was, if we took the percentage base of payments, sometimes this would result, not sometimes, but many times it would result in cents and dollars in change. And that would be a logistical nightmare to handle when you are handling so many payouts at that location, and would delay the payout process. So it was a group decision with everybody agreeing that, okay, that would be the best process to do. And that's what has been implemented. So these are elements that I brought forward from my experiences from the past. And it has been great with the team adapting to these kind of a scenario and learning from it very quickly. In summary, I would get into some of the key takeaways to you. And based on what has happened here in Solomon Islands, I would like to highlight, you do not need a fancy high-end digital solution to utilize a digital solution for a mechanism to handle such kind of payouts. In this case, a simple solution was all that was, SMS solution was all that was needed. Ensure your customer database is updated, as there will be a need to communicate with them rapidly, especially when there are movement restrictions. Keep it simple, especially the front end for your customer. In this case, all they needed to be concerned for was the SMS that they got, that it alerted them regarding when they are going to be paid, at what time and which location. Keep the complexities in the back end, and the customer does not need to know about the complexities. And some of them I already covered with you: the application process, the database setup, the SMS batch queuing, the SMS blast mechanisms, the logistics of the payout location, and the problem resolutions. The other key takeaway is look for ways to adapt existing systems with local mechanisms, such as SMS gateways. We had this for our USAVE low mobile service, so it was adapted for this purpose. I always say digitization is an enabler, and a very powerful enabler at that, as was experienced and learned here. However, the last mile challenges will always exist in such situations and actually play a bigger role in ensuring the success of the digitization step one chooses. And this is applicable anywhere in the world. Such large volumes of cash transfers cannot be handled by agents, even in countries that have more advanced digital solutions. Till such a time the entire digital ecosystem exists and people do not have the need for physical cash. Another important aspect that can be useful for the Solomon Islands or for Pacific Island countries is that this mechanism can be used for any future emergency cash transfer that may arise here for the government, as Solomon Islands is vulnerable for climate risk and shocks. And finally, I would like to mention here that what we are experiencing here and all over the world with the COVID-19 is the future normal. How do we address these issues? Investing in the digital rails beginning from now will help countries to prepare for future risks. Solomon Islands is very exposed to extreme weather events due to climate change. The government's and SINPF's commitment to the digitization of systems will help protect vulnerable people, means they are more prepared for these risks in the future. Thank you. That's what I would like to say.
Thank you so much. We're now going to move to the question and answers portion of the webinar. And we have a first one here, which I'm going to direct to Sanjay. So please, could you answer, what are the reasons for not being able to make disbursements to everyone? Currently, we have over 80% processed, but there remains almost 20%. What is the plan and process to disperse them, the outstanding payments?
Thanks, Rose. I'll answer the question. For the 20% that that's outstanding, 5% of these are members who have not yet to collect their payments. These payments are already, and they may have missed the SMS taxes, so they haven't come forward to collect those their payments. The other 15% are those that are lined up for batching for finance department to process for payments. So all that has been accepted with the 9,873 that's recorded here are all processed for payments already. And the 15% are the ones that are yet to be batched for approval for payments.
Great, thank you so much. The next question that we have is, what next step will you take to digitize the disbursements in the future? I'm not sure if there's a specific person who'd like to pick that up. Michael, perhaps you'd like to speak about this.
To digitize in the future, that is with regards to, do you mean, is it for NPF or with regards to a general scenario in Solomon Islands?
I believe that the person who asked it wasn't specific, but I believe that they're talking about the specific situation.
Okay, with regards to the general scenario for Solomon Islands, with regards to digitization, one, there has to be more digital infrastructure into place. There, especially with regards to payments, because currently banks are not interoperable. There's no centralized switch. And with regards to payments, the other elements that are coming in, the mobile money initiatives that are beginning to emerge here, they also need to have a mechanism of being able to settle and having an interoperability aspect to happen for it to scale. With regards to NPF itself making payments, typically this is a unique scenario where they had to step in to make payments. Generally, any kind of a superannuation fund don't necessarily make payments at their location. They issue checks that people go to collect from their respective banks. And also they need to, or they credit bank accounts. So with regards to digitization per se, I think Mike and his team are looking at more elements of providing a digital channel for communicating with their customers, digitizing their platforms in the sense where updated account information can be done. They are looking at QR code based ID cards where members can be easily, don't have to, when they come to a location and they come to their offices for any kind of information, just a QR code scan will pull up the data for the customer. Those kind of digitization steps are being planned as per my discussions with his team.
One thing that came out from this crisis is now members can do their applications online, so they can access the application form from a website, and then they complete the application form, and then they send it back to us through the website as well. So they don't need to come to us to our office to do the applications. You have access to the internet.
Great, thank you so much. And next we have a question, which is, in the future, are you going to think about partnering with some other mobile money operators? And that is for Isaac.
Thank you, Rose. Yes, it is evident that the participation of the telecom institutions is paramount, and all efforts are underway to support the telecommunication companies to engage in digitization, mobile money services, and this will probably take place either by the end of this year or in the as early as next year.
Great, thank you. And then I wanted to ask also, Pete wanted to ask, could you explain a bit more about who the payment teams were? Were they recruited specially for these payouts? I think we touched on this briefly, but if you could expand, Sanjay, that would be great.
They were all internal NPF staff.
Okay, great. Thank you. And could I please ask as well, does the Solomon Islands National Provident Fund Board engage fintechs or only provide digitization for payment services? And that's for Michael, please.
Yeah, I mean, can I repeat the question again?
Of course. Does the Solomon Islands National Provident Fund Board engage fintechs or only provide digitization for payment services?
Yeah,
Need to do payment services.
Yeah. At the moment, we are part of the government's national initiative on financial inclusion and also payments through for digital payments. At that level, we're still engaging with the government in how we can digitalize some of our payments, especially from an income side, for properties that are rented out to tenants. But I'm not sure about the fintechs at the moment.
Okay, great. Thank you. And And then Sanjay, I have a question about looking beyond the current crisis. What are the priorities for increased digitization in the financial sector in Solomon Islands?
I think the key priority would be the backbone infrastructure for the digitization, which will include the expansion capacity of the mobile network operators. That's very essential. They need to up their infrastructure by providing 4G or at least a minimum 3G in all the provinces. Right now, 4G and 3G is available only in limited provinces. Power will be a critical issue. As with regards to the earlier elements that I mentioned, the national payment settlement mechanism or national payment switch, that those are really core elements and priorities. And one element that is going to be a huge priority for digitization in the future, in Solomon Islands, in many countries, is going to be IDs, digital IDs, centralized ID mechanisms so that the KYC norms are easily done. So these are some of the key elements with regards to being able to move into the digital sphere in a very quick, efficient manner that I see with regards to Solomon Islands.
Great, thank you. And next we have a question from Vanina. So she would like to know, may I ask, what is the cost of the whole process to the customer? Do they have credits on their phone and internet data for online access to access the service, or is the whole process free?
The whole process is free because they do not have to, the SMSs are being generated from NPF to them. So all the cost of the SMS is being borne by NPF. Calling the call center is also toll free. So with regards to that, the communication element and generating the mechanism to come to a payout location information, there is no cost to the customer. The only cost is for them to get to the payout location. And in some cases, people have to come across from other islands. So that's a cost that is unfortunately being borne in Pacific Islands for some time. And that is why the importance of digitization of local economies is very important.
Great, thank you. Next, we have a question from Shabnam asking, could you let me know if you have collected any gender disaggregated data on the drawdown and if there have been gender differences?
I can answer. I think with regards to the formal sector, in the superannuation fund that is available, it is predominantly male dominated. So I would say it is like 65-35, 65% male and 35% female. That is the workforce in the formal sector. With regards to the USAVE low mobile, it's exactly the opposite. It's actually 60-40, 60% being female and 40% being male. This is the informal sector, and that is the data we have from the USAVE low mobile.
Great. Thank you so much. And then we have a question from someone anonymous. How did you get your members to cooperate with your digital platforms?
Thanks. That's a good question. It's good communications and good PR. We were quite shocked, and our members were quite patient, cooperative, and also they listened to our instructions and they didn't complain, even though some of them stand in the sun for say, at least 5 minutes or so before they were able to come into the formal space for payout. So we were quite impressed with our members for the cooperation and also for the support in terms of allowing us to do our job properly and also with no complaints. But of course, there are also people who are also who are not satisfied, and they also complain to us on the site and also through the media as well. When they receive their payment, maybe on time in terms of when they expect their payments to be received.
Great, thank you. And then this may need to be the final question as we are coming up to the end of our time. So I have a question from Dr. Amanda. Her question is about the payout mechanism. She thought that she had mention of ATMs and that bank customers receive money into their bank accounts, but there are also cash payout locations. Are these the only two options for receiving payments?
Yes, the only mechanism for payouts is either a direct credit to the bank account, and then how the customer withdraws the money from the bank, whether it is an ATM or go to the bank branch and withdraw money, that's the customer's choice. Or they come to the payout location and collect cash, or they collect a check, which is a bearer check that they can go in cash at the payout location. Those are the payment options that are available. We have not utilized an ATM withdrawal coupon mechanism. No, I think this is a misunderstanding about that.
Great, thank you. And then finally, I'm going to ask one more question to Isaac. We have heard that digitization is a key enabler in the implementation of such a program, and yet Solomon Islands is comparatively behind its counterparts on digital growth and transformation. How is UNCDF planning to support the country on its digital transformation journey?
Sorry. Thanks, Rose. I'll combine that question with a question from Sophie, who is asking about looking beyond COVID for digitization, and also Fifi's question on the plan for fintechs in the Solomon Island and the Pacific. I hope that that will be fine. Yeah, so indeed, the UNCDF, we are going to engage in building digital economies and transformation across all sectors of Solomon Island. This will be our key mandate. Specifically, we shall be a neutral broker and a convener for collective efforts from the private sector, the public sector, and development partners towards digital transformation. You may also recall that in July 2019, the UNCDF launched its global digital strategy. The portfolio in Solomon Island is already aligned to this strategy, and the COVID situation just heightened the cause for accelerating inclusive digital use. So together with the Ministry of Communication and Aviation and the Central Bank and PHB Development as our consulting partner, we are already working together to develop the Solomon Island National Digital Economy Strategy 2021-2025. This will give us some specific action plans and activities that to implement for digital transformation, and as well as assign KRAs and responsibilities to institutions within the Solomon Island jurisdiction. This strategy, we expect to commission it in September 2020, and it will be accompanied by an inclusive digital economy scorecard to give us a baseline on where we stand on digital penetration, to help us set our targets, and also it will be used to monitor our performance on the digital journey. And as a must, we will take on take consideration for key segments such as women, youth, migrants, rural communities, amongst others. And of course, priority will be given to in the initial years to developing sustainable digital rails, infrastructure, and ecosystems, but while supporting on policies and stimulating digital innovations through fintechs and empowering consumers to participate meaningfully in the digital economy. And as I mentioned before, UNCDF is a neutral broker. We shall help with galvanizing strategic partnerships from the public and the private sector and development partners for required efforts necessary to propel digital transformation in the Solomon Island. And we shall also avail our technical support from within our existing global technical team on key support areas such as policy, innovation, ecosystem development, and empowered customers. Thank you, Rose, and I hope I have answered, that answers Sophie's question, Wycliffe, Fifi, and I think I saw Alan Young asking about the marginalized groups, and yes, we will be having special considerations for such groups, women, people with disabilities, youth, among others. Thank you, Rose.
Thank you so much. We're at the end of our time. First of all, I would like to thank all of the speakers for sharing their extensive knowledge and experience. And I'd also like to thank everyone who joined us. We have people from all over the world, from governments, NGOs and international agencies with us. So thank you so much. Please do join us on social media if you have any further questions. If you ask anything through the PFIP LinkedIn page or through Twitter, we will do our best to get you an answer as soon as possible. As mentioned, we'll be sending around the recording and some further resources in a few days. You can also reply to that email. Thank you so much. I'm going to end the meeting now. Thank you.